Is it a fearship or is it a friendship? Is it a romantic partnership or is it something that you are constantly running around for because you fear that it may run out on you? Welcome to the Bird Brain Podcast, where the goal is to rise above it all, stay elevated, create that infinity, and up your you. Today's episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about fear-based relationships. Relationships that are founded on some level of fear or scarcity versus it actually feeling fruitful and safe, okay, and valued. All right. And there could be different sides of this dynamic. As I was thinking about it, I was like, for example, friendship. Sometimes we are friends with people out of fear, okay? Or within the friendship, we fear, saying the wrong thing because there's going to be some consequence, right? Maybe you bring up a certain transgression and this person, they avoid you or they shut down, okay? They give you the silent treatment, they stonewall. So you start to minimize how you feel or you stop asking for what you need. Or maybe they never seem to show up, okay? You may fear being rejected. Okay, and the other side of that is you have this friendship where it's kind of abusive. It's a little abusive and slightly manipulative. Okay, things they say to you, how they say things to you, how they treat you. Like if you're not doing the things that they want you to do or that they demand, then it becomes a problem. Sometimes we think we are in these relationships because we are choosing them for our function, right? Our healthy function. But a lot of times, if you look a little bit deeper, sometimes it might be fear-based. Okay, sometimes you might be in a relationship with a person that may remind you of people who bullied you. Okay, maybe people who have mistreated you and you were used to being subservient in those spaces. So much so that you start convincing yourself that, yeah, this person, just cares about me, or they just have a strong personality, or, that's just who they are, okay? But in reality, you start to realize, in my body, do I feel tense around them? Okay, do I feel safe, or do I always feel like I'm going to do something wrong? Granted, I've recognized that in some relationships, a person can be very deceitful, okay, very conniving, if you will, very dishonest. And how they walk on eggshells in the relationship is due to the fact that they're not being honest. A person may be doing anything wrong, it's just that this person may respond in a way that they don't like. And even in that, that's some level of manipulation, right? To say that you're fearful of another person, however, you're treating them in a certain way and they're picking up on it and you don't want them to address their concerns, okay? That's manipulation. Full stop, all right? So the beautiful thing about relationships is they're always a dynamic at play. Always a dynamic at play. And when we understand what exactly is happening, that may be more information in terms of how we're navigating. Right? So let's say you are fearful of speaking up for yourself. Okay, why is that? All right, if every time you end up in a conversation with this person, it seems like it's semantics being played, or this person lacks accountability, or they are not willing to really change, okay? Or you ask for effort and it's kind of met with this criticism, all right? Or you're asking too much, or that's the implication, all right? So you stop really doing much to make this person upset with you, okay? Or to make this person have a reason to say something bad to you. It's so important to realize sometimes what exactly is happening in a relationship dynamic and how safe you actually feel to be yourself and express yourself. And again, on the flip side, there are some people that may say, yeah, I feel like I got to walk on eggshells with you. It's like, okay, well, how honest are you being in the relationship too? That's important. Or how are you treating this person and now they're responding to it? Sometimes people like doing bad things without being labeled as bad people. We want other people to either acquiesce to that behavior, appropriate it, or pretend that it's not happening. But we need to understand that we are not always on the receptive end of this behavior, so therefore we don't know how it's affecting the other person. Throw it over into romantic partnerships. It's important to ask yourself, is this relationship built on a certain level of health and security and safety? Or is this relationship founded on this idea that they may leave me someday and I got to do everything I need to do to keep them around, okay? Or they may no longer want me, or I may stop being attractive. Or what if they see somebody else out there and they want to be with them instead? Okay, or what if they just don't like me anymore? You got to ask yourself, if that's really the case and I'm really in this relationship, why am I here? What's been the goal? And let's think far out. Let's say, okay, this person does leave me, or this person no longer wants to be friends with me, or I do speak up for myself and this person has a problem with it. What happens next? Sometimes we are not thinking past the point, which is what keeps us stuck where we are, right? Let's say you do go through a breakup. What happens? Do you stop paying your bills? Do you stop eating? Okay. Do you stop getting up and going to work? Do you stop spending time with people? Some people might say yes, because that does happen, but ask yourself why. And every day you spend without this person, is that a day you're living? Is that a day you're literally breathing? Yes. So what is so fearful about this relationship and you losing it? See, sometimes it's not even the relationship itself that we're fearful of. It could just be our fear of being with ourselves, or a simulation of impending doom. Okay, like if we break up, it's the end of the world, and it truly is not. You know, it's the end of a chapter in your world. It's the end of a chapter in theirs. However, it's not the full end. And this doesn't mean that these relationships don't sting when they do expire. It just simply means that, hey, maybe this was not what I thought it was. If you are running on rumination in your relationships, if you are fearful of speaking up for yourself in relationships, you're fearful of having boundaries in your relationships because of how somebody may react, then that's something to think about and look at. You know, how does this person treat me? How do I treat this individual? Right? How do we treat each other? Includes friendships too. What's been the founding piece of this relationship? Has it required me to forego how I feel, how I'm being treated, okay, what I've experienced, what I notice, what I don't like, in order to sustain this connection with this person? Okay? Is the only thing that's priority and significant is how they want to feel at any given point in time? Am I allowed to be a confident person in this dynamic, or do I constantly have to shrink myself, okay, or minimize myself to fit into this other person's world? And how do they talk to me? Okay, we need to understand that abuse is not always just a physical thing. Okay, and abuse doesn't just happen in romantic partnerships or even in family dynamics. It happens in friendship. Okay, and emotional abuse is a very different thing. The reason why is because it doesn't always leave bruises. Every time you bring up a situation, somebody says, well, you're blowing it out of proportion. You're always doing that. Okay, it becomes these extremes, these overgeneralizations. And then you start to question yourself. Like, maybe I am, you know, asking for too much. Maybe I am thinking about this too much. Maybe I should treat them or talk to them better, when all I did was say, hey, I don't like how this made me feel. Or it feels like you're being deceptive or dishonest with me. It's super crucial to start to recognize what is the founding piece of who you are sustaining your connections with. And like I said, sometimes we don't realize that it's all fear-based. Okay? I fear disappointing this person because A, B, C. All right? I fear speaking up about what I've experienced with this individual because of A, B, C. But any relationship that requires you to be fearful in it is an empty connection, to say the least. There is no relationship with anybody that's worth you being disrespected in it, ever. If that's a requirement for you to sustain a certain dynamic with a person because of how they play it, okay, or how they choose to treat you, or what they choose to gift you with, okay, think of it. And again, pay attention to how they talk to you. Pay attention to when they talk to you. Pay attention to the things that they do say to you. It is very okay to recognize what relationships may need some reevaluation because you don't feel supported, you don't feel respected, you don't feel cared for, okay? You don't feel valued. You can always make a choice. People's permission, right? I know sometimes we are in relationships for a little bit too long because we fear or we think that we have to get this person's permission first, okay? Or they have to do something so horrible first, because that'll be the permission we need to actually stand up for ourselves. All right, I said this before in a previous episode. It's like the goal is to not wait to resent a person to decide to do something about the relationship. it's very hard to get back to a certain level of homeostasis or even love and care for that individual. Recognize that you can love people from a distance, but you can love people without being in a relationship with them. It's possible. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it's the healthiest thing that you can do. And I want you to look at how you navigate your relationships. Is it fear-based? Do you try to control people? Okay? Is there a certain level of people pleasing? Because people pleasing is, in certain ways, a form of manipulation and control. What would it look like to just be yourself? Have you explored what that is yet? Okay. And what would it look like to spend more time with people who don't feel fearful, unsure, like you can't really trust what they say? All right. Because you've noticed certain patterns in their behavior up until this point haven't been the most congruent. Sometimes it may not be a friendship you're in, but a fearship. Sometimes people are even friends with one person because they're afraid, well, if I say something to this person, I lose the rest of my friends, right? Now it becomes me being exiled from an entire group, all because I address the one person that everybody's afraid to address. Or I'm fearful that this person may go back and tell people certain things. So I rather just pretend that everything's cool, and in reality, I don't even know if I like this individual. Same thing applies to relationships. I'm with this person because I'm afraid of what their family's gonna think of me if we break up. What a person thinks of me doesn't matter if they don't think of me when it matters. And I want you to ask yourself, if somebody is gonna go tell other people about you, if you guys in the relationship or if you choose to, what's the worst that happens after that? Okay? Think of the worst case scenario. All right? And how realistic is it? It may feel real in your body, but really think of how realistic is this for potentially happening? But anytime you stop feeling safe in a friendship or a relationship, a romantic partnership, you get to ask yourself, well, why am I still here? Or is it a friendship? Is it a romantic partnership or is it a relationship you're fearful that they're going to run out on you someday? And ask yourself, how did I get here? Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take flight.